Even if you're not a Chinese or Japanese speaker, I want you to have a look at these two characters and I want you to tell me which one to you looks more balanced. Just this past week, I was really surprised with my 4-year-old daughter. Now, she's been learning to write all different scripts using my tools at tools.crackinglanguage.com. You can use them too. They're all free. And this is the sketchpad that integrates into everything. And so as she was writing Chinese, I was noticing that she was actually getting a kind of native accent on her characters. And she's not native Chinese speaker, but she was getting the balance after being exposed to so many characters over the past few months. And so in answer to the question, which looks more balanced? If you look symmetrically, yeah, I guess this one here looks more balanced, but to the native speaker eye, I would say this probably looks balanced and more aesthetically pleasing. Now, you may have seen a clip that I put out a couple of months ago going into the science of balance. If you want the full details of that, go back and have a look at the clip. But in this clip today, I just want to quickly show you why this one here is probably more aesthetically pleasing and how it is actually balanced. And if you are learning Chinese, Japanese, or even Korean and you're learning the Hanja, you want to have more balanced handwriting, I'll show you the secret to do it because you can actually do it with this tool here. Now, the secret lies in these templates. If you have a look here, this is the standard square template that Chinese speakers or Japanese speakers will learn to write their kanji in as a kid. Now, I've put all of these different templates in here. You can see as I'm clicking through. And these are based on actual research into looking at the balance of Chinese characters. This model here, even though Chinese speakers and Japanese speakers aren't taught this model even at school, it's what's embedded into them. And it's what I noticed my daughter, because she's been exposed to so many characters and handwriting and seeing things over the years. And she's only 4 years old, but over the past few years, she seems to naturally have an appreciation for the balance of Chinese characters. Now, have a look at this one. If I superimpose it over this model, now have a look at how this lines up perfectly. So what we've done actually to get this model, I'll explain. So the way it works is if you break this, so you've got this box, this main box here, and you break it into a 6x6 grid. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 compartments, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so the way this works, I'll just change colors here, is if you come to this point here and you draw a line up to this point here, okay? And so we go that there, and then we draw it down to the bottoms. It's this skewing that is the perfect shape for writing Chinese characters. And this is what you see here. Now this middle line's out, and if you actually skew it down, you'll see that this line starts to come out like this, okay? And it will come down, and so what you have to do then is just straighten this line up, which is what gives you this point here. And so from this line here, it actually plays a role. You can, if you take this little box here, this is the offset balance. And so we draw the stroke down to here, it hits the middle, and that's about 1/3 of your full stroke. And so we have another 2/3 down here, and you come down there. And then from this point, you follow this. Now, if that were straight, that would be a 45-degree angle. But because it's on a skew, it's actually not 45 degrees. But you get this, if I delete those strokes out that I just did, and that one, you get this beautiful angle. And if you don't believe me, have a look at this. I'm going to hide or delete the text that I just did. And what I've done in these templates, you can actually click here and type in any character. So I've got the character ren. And so here we go. I'm just going to type in Chinese ren and put it in there. This is how I got it, and it comes to that. And then you can actually choose the font. And so I've put a whole bunch of fonts here. And so here is the semi-cursive style, and bang, that semi-cursive form fits perfectly onto this grid. Now, did they use this grid when the native speaker was designing the font? No. it was built in here. But isn't that mind-blowing that these skewed templates are what have burned into the subconscious of native speakers, and that's what is aesthetically pleasing to them. So let's look at the classic character 中, so center, or 中 for China, 中国. So if you were learning to write the kanji for this, you'd be learning this stroke and coming over, and this is when you see foreigners come in and they do these 90-degree angles down there, and then they come down with this downstroke, and it looks beautifully symmetrical in this square grid. But when you see native speakers write it, they don't write it like that. When you see native speakers write it, you start to see these lines start to curl in and they go out, and you think, okay, so even when I write it like that, that still doesn't look balanced. I've put my center line right down the center. I've sort of started there, and they told me to make them go in, but that's not balanced. How do you balance it? Well, have a look at this. If I superimpose a cursive form or a semi-cursive form over this skewed grid, look at that. So this is where you get those curves in. It's not centered in that actual center there, but you can see following these guidelines down here. Now, I'm just going to reinstate that native speakers don't probably even know about this trapezoid version of the character. It's just burned in here what looks nice, but this is the science to it. And so have a look at this. If you're going to actually write it, then you've got this one coming down here, bang. You got this one coming from way across here, across, and it's actually following the contour of that line down, and bang. And then rather than balancing on this center line, you're actually balancing then across this offset line like that. And again, this shu stroke, this center stroke going down, when you actually write it, let me delete that out there, but you can see that this actually starts, you go down heavy, if you were there, and then you sort of come in and you're heavy, 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 and then you get lighter, and it comes down and sort of tapers off at the end, towards the end. Okay, so let's try that a little bit faster. And so what happens is you go down, around, around, across, and then this starts about here, goes down and gets light and goes up. And if I take that away there, that actually is starting to look much more natural. I'll just get rid of that. So let's try again. Down, across, and down. That's starting to look much, much more natural. So let's just try one more character that's even more complex and see if this still works. Okay, so this is the character shi. Now, again, if you were a learner of Chinese, you would be doing these in your kanji books with your kaishu, and you go like this, and you see for learners, they try and make their strokes follow the templates to the T, and when they come out and look at it, they're going to end up with a character that looks like this. And it looks like a kid's drawn it, even if you're an adult doing it. And what happens, many learners, they will keep this style of handwriting many years into the future, even though they start to become fluent in the language. You can still hear the foreign accent on their writing. Now let's have a look at how the character shi would actually work in this grid. Look at that. That's mind-blowing that the person who invented this font, or who wrote this, that this is modeled on, I'm sure that they weren't using a template like this, but this is burned into their subconscious. It's just etched into their muscles on how they do it. And look at the symmetry here. I'll just let it stand out. So this is this line that goes up here. Have a look at that. And then this line here, look at that. They all just line up beautifully across to there. And you can see the angling up, starting from the bottom of this line to the top of this line. And that's just stopping right at that point here. And so let me just draw over it. So I'm starting here and I come down, I come there, and I'm going around right on that line. Bang, bang. And then I'm starting here. Now you go heavy to light to heavy out. And now I'm starting here. Now have a look at this portion. Does that look familiar? Look at that. That is actually exactly the same proportions as this ren that we did earlier. These are the things that are etched into the subconscious of native speakers. And so when they are writing their characters, this is where their muscles are going. If you're not a native speaker, you haven't had that exposure. You haven't seen all of those things. So you don't have anything to go on as a baseline. And so you'll probably use this one here as your baseline. And that's what gets etched into your muscles. So, TLDR, if you want to start to feel characters more like a native and get them etched into your subconscious, which I noticed my 4-year-old daughter, because she's been getting into writing characters and it seems to just be there because of exposure, start to use these kinds of templates to train your muscles and your subconscious to get used to seeing characters in this sort of skewed angle, not just the traditional boxy kaishu angles. And it will take you a long way into the future. You mightn't think it's an important point now, but trust me, as you go in, you're going to really appreciate it. And I know that now everybody's texting, and so very few people actually handwrite their characters. But for me, having those characters in my muscles, it's just something that makes the language part of me even more. Come across to jacademy.com and you can enroll if you're learning Thai, get the unlimited bundle. But I'm actually starting my Minecraft course again. We're going to do 4 weeks of face-to-face, well, virtual face-to-face. Maybe I'll run something where if you're here in Bangkok, we can actually be in the same room together. But we will be putting all of this stuff together no matter what the language you're learning, particularly tonal languages, because I see that there's a lot of issues with that when foreigners are learning tonal languages, so Thai, Chinese, Vietnamese. But come and enroll in that Minecraft. If you really want to do it, you'll get access to all of the stuff now. That's for a year, but you'll also be able to come to these live sessions that we're going to be running in a couple of weeks. We'll be starting probably around the second week of November. We're still confirming the dates up. So come to jacademy.com, subscribe to Minecraft if you want to get your language on point. If you want your Thai, subscribe to the unlimited Thai bundle there. Get your copy of Cracking Thai Fundamentals if you are learning Thai. I'm Stuart J. Raj, and I'll see you on the other side.